Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. It's about 5 to 6 hours after everything we know in RuneScape has come to an end. But on a real note, so there was obviously some updates. If you guys aren't aware, I'll go over them in short real quick as I scroll through the old school RuneScape page. Alright, so for starters, we have the in-game world map. What a great update, right? Like, you'd be like, oh man, this is a really cool thing. I mean, other maps on other clients have, in-game maps, but this one's so helpful. But guess what? Nobody cares. That's not what we're talking about. It's a cool update, but it's literally just gotten destroyed by all the news of these updates to follow. So the Zulrah drop table, I'm sure you guys are aware, has gone down a ton. Like, as far as what you can expect there, JX says that they've roughly lowered it by 30%. I'll go ahead later and compare my loots now to what they would have been then and kind of look over that. I think it's more than 30, which is why I think that Zulrah is definitely screwed as far as the best moneymaker in game. If you guys don't know, you guys can go ahead and take a look here as far as what they decreased in general, but pretty much just think of any 100k plus drop that you could get at Zulrah. They pretty much lowered that to around 30 to 40k is about what it comes out to. It's an attempt to get less resources in the game to make doing other things in game more profitable. I understand where they're coming from. I just don't know why they did this 2 years later. I think the real problem was doing this ever in the first place. Having a money making method be this good is a problem in the first place. Now, is it right to come back and change it now? I'd say they're probably just clearing space for future updates. I think that's what they're doing with all this. They're making stuff worse so that in future updates they can make better stuff than this. Because if you make better stuff than, say, the SERP helm, with its current stats, or I guess what used to be its current stats, you get into this RS3 kind of area where everything's trying to one-up the thing before it, and thus the game gets exponentially just insanely crazier, and you just end up making 20 mil per hour in some instances, and your gear is just crazy. And I think that's what they're trying to avoid with this. I think they've learned that from RS3, and I think that's what they're trying to do here. If so, and if it works out, I applaud them. It's a really ballsy thing to do, but to be honest, I'm a little pissed off. I'm butthurt. I'll say it. I just unlocked Zulrah on my noob account, and I made a bet with one of my friends that I'd get a twisted bow in the next like 3 months. A lot of that was heavily reliant on the fact that Zulrah was a thing, so now that it's not, pretty upset, but we'll find a way around it. As far as the SERP helm goes, I felt like this was totally unnecessary. One or the other would have been fine. If the helmet would have been lowered from 5 strength to 3 and you still kept the venom, that would be fine. Or if it was just stayed at 5 and you lost the venom, I think those would both be fine, because it's still the best helmet slot in game, but is it worth the scales? I don't think so anymore. I mean, you'd have to be tanking a boss and have pretty good drops on that boss for this to be worth it. The main reason I would ever say that this would be worth it, even with these like added things right here, is that it's good for Zulrah. But the problem is, while it is good for Zulrah, Zulrah's not as good anymore. So it's just, it's rough, man. The Void range set, a lot of people are pissed about this. I personally totally understand where they're coming from with this. However, I do think it's annoying that they go and nerf it now. Some people have accounts solely based off of Void, and to go ahead and just nerf it makes it really annoying for those people that built those accounts, and I can understand where they're coming from. However, from a general player's perspective, it doesn't make sense that something that's so low in requirements has this sort of damage increase and is this good. Like, it's the best in slot at 99 range for most things, which is just really weird. Now, one of the things I think that they can do to go ahead and counteract this would be to have like a Western Elite, stuff like that. Try to go ahead and incorporate it into a diary to get the actual like 20% damage boost. I think that'd be a really cool thing for them to do. I don't know if they plan on doing that, but that's something that I would recommend. And then the Karam Destroyer, the last one. I mean, realistically, this is just where alts stay, so I guess it hurts all the like people that are going for crazy high XP rates. That's fine. I think, I don't know. I like playing with an alt personally, but I mean, when it like enhances your way of getting around other people on high scores, I think it's a little bit unfair. But all this is going to do is just make high alching rune items beneficial to people. Like, they'll make money off high alching rune stuff, which seems so like just out of the blue, but not a big update here, to be honest. I mean, everyone saw it coming. It's been a high topic of debate for a while now. So let's get back on into the game. So here we are. Yeah, in a clip before, I accidentally dismantled all of my helms, thinking that, I was recording. I wasn't. But now we have 570k Zulrah scales, currently inactive. That's not true. However, OS Buddy's been acting up after this update. But yeah, so we have a lot of stuff to talk about as far as the economy is going and what I think is going to happen, because that's where I kind of want to bring this video to an end. As far as Zulrah scales, I think they're an incredible merch. I would never have invested like 60 to 70 mil into them if I didn't think that they'd be great. The Arcane Spirit Shield is something that I hate myself for being stuck with so much. You guys do not even know. Yeah, bank bins, man. But yeah, there's no way to see it now, since after all this went down, I just lost a grip and started buying and selling a ton of shit. But I bought this for 125 mil last night. At the time, it seemed like a really good buy. I couldn't tell why Arcanes were going down at the time, and the Zulrah update hadn't come out yet. So it was just a general like dip in the price of Arcanes. Or I bought it for 125. I figured overnight maybe I'd be able to sell it for 128. If only I knew what was to come the next morning, I would have sold it off. However, that's not the case at all, and now it's down to like 105 mil, and I've lost 20 mil. So I'm a little pissed about that. I don't know if I want to sell it and invest into scales more. The problem is with scales, I cannot buy them. So, yeah. I've been asking my clan chat for people to go ahead and buy them for me, but that's about it. Now, let's go ahead and get on into the bigger picture here. So now we move on over to GE Tracker. They're a sponsor of mine. Just want to go ahead and clear that out before we go ahead and get on into it. They're in the description down below if you want to check them out. But let's get on into it. So it's ridiculous. The market's changed so much since this update's happened. Armadyl has gone through the roof, and it makes sense because Void's now not the best in slot. However, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of explain some things as far as to why I think people just need to relax. So there is one investment that I think is really good. Obviously, on top of the scales I've already bought, that's obvious. But the Imbued Heart is a really good merch, I believe, or a really good investment more so, as I think with the introduction of the Inferno, Imbued Hearts will raise, as I think from what I can gather, with the Inferno, it seems as if you will have to use different combat styles, and if that's true, with the Imbued Heart, you obviously get a magic bonus throughout the entire Inferno, which just seems like one of the best items in the game as far as that goes, as far as like something that you could have in your inventory, so I think it'll be really useful, and now that it's dropped 10 mil, it has a ton of room to grow as far as price, so that's an investment I would recommend you guys do. Just remember, it's a suggestion by me. If it drops more on you, that's not my fault. I mean, I'm sorry I led you down this path, but I do think that, I mean, you know, it's a pretty good one. No one's gonna be happy with me. I mean, no one's gonna be all that happy with me if they go up, and people will be mad if it goes down. I get it. I get the risk with telling people what to invest in. But now, as far as what I think items will do, I think that the range armor that you see here, like Armadyl chestplate, Armadyl chain skirt, those will drop over time. They'll hold a relatively close price to what they are now. I think the plate body will probably you know, kind of stop at around 28 to 29 mil, and I think the chain skirt will probably go down to 24-ish, because there's obviously a lot of them in game, and people do Armadyl anyways, so over time they'll come back down. I think it's just an overreaction for the time being. As far as Ancestral, I think that this actually is justified. I think that this armor is way too expensive, and now I think it's finally showing that, you know, it can drop and it will drop. So I think that that's justified. I don't think that those necessarily will go back up. However, I do believe a lot of mage armor will. I can't see a lot of it on screen here as it doesn't have that high of margins, but stuff like the Eternal Boots dropping to 5 mil, I mean, maybe makes a little bit of sense, but I think for the most part, your average mage armor will start to go back up. Like the Arcane currently sold for around 104.5 mil. I mean, while it does make sense since it's not good for Zulrah anymore, and there are a lot of accounts selling off everything that they have as far as Zulrah gear goes, I think this will go back up over time. The main reason it was holding such a high price is because of how useful it is when it comes to raids, and also how people do not want to go to Corp as much anymore because the Ellie has dropped. So I believe the Arcane will go back up. Overall, I think that mage armor will generally start to raise back up a little bit. Range armor that you guys see, like Armadyl and other best in slot range armors for different levels, will start to slowly drop back down to, you know, closer to their normal price, but not necessarily what they were before the update. Now, this is kind of one that's a little far-fetched. However, I do believe it is going to happen, and I think that raid items now are going to drop, at least over time, because now that you have Zulrah going out of the game, people are going to be looking for the next best money-making method. That method being, you guessed it, raids. Raids, even when Zora was in the game, were the best money-making method. However, it wasn't guaranteed drops, and not everyone knew how to do it. And so the difference between, you know, making 3 mil an hour to making 4 to 5 mil an hour wasn't that big of a difference, and people could justify going to Zora instead of doing raids. However, now that Zora's down to maybe 1.5 to 2 mil per hour, yeah, a lot of people are going to be looking towards raids, and I think those items will drop over time. So with that said, let's go ahead and get back into the Zora loot that I got before. Alright, so now here we go. Going to go ahead and try to get this done pretty quickly. So as you guys can see here, this was a sample test loot of 150 kills that I did pretty much right before this update came out, and it came out to about 17.3 to 17.4 mil. I did leave some mahogany planks in the bank, so we'll take that up to 18 mil. Now I'll go ahead and kind of tell you what we lost on this with the new update. So in total, magic seeds, I approximated that you get about half. I'd imagine that's what they're saying whenever they say decreased drop rate. They're probably going to about half it. So with that said, you will get some other loot, like you'll replace the 3 that you missed with 3 other ones. So in total, around a 400k loss to 450k. The Runite ore got decreased, so that's 1.8 mil loss. Snapdragons got decreased 200k. Torstals 150k. Raw sharks to mana rays changes that by about a mil. My Torstal dropped 40k. Snaps dropped 400k, which is insane. Magic logs, this is a 1.4 mil loss. Coal is 200k. Addy bars, I lost about 100k. And mahogany planks and mahogany logs lost me about 500k. So in total, that means my drops for these 150 kills pretty much have dropped from what you would approximate at about 18 mil per 150 kills to around 11.8 mil. So obviously, that's a pretty significant drop rate. Their approximation was actually pretty close. I thought it was going to be a lot worse. It's around like a 35% drop as far as, you know, your overall value that we were getting before compared to now. So if you used to be making 3 mil per hour, now you'll be making about 1.9-ish. If you used to make 2 like I did, you probably make like 1.4. And at that point, it's like there are definitely other things to do in game, which I think is definitely the point of this update. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, make sure to leave a like. I think the whole idea behind this update was to actually make it so that Jagex, you know, there was more to do in game than just Zora. Is it a good update? I mean, 2 years later, I don't know. It's up to you guys. Go ahead and decide that for yourself. Comment down below anything you guys want to talk about. Obviously, there's a whole lot to discuss with this. Like the video if you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you like the content. And yeah, that's it. Hope you guys have